Hello there guys and welcome
But I don't want to do the whole quest again because I had got there without any items, and then I ended up survive. But that was my own fault. I probably should have just restarted. I think I
Yeah, well,
used
don't
more
get me wrong.
revives
If I
than I could.
wasn't streaming it with quote-unquote purpose not to use items, uh,
Yeah,
I probably would have just, you know.
but overall, the rewards were definitely there. Some things. I mean, well, we'll get to the rewards in a little bit, but really the content itself, yeah, there were some tricky parts. Um, the newly buffed Daredevil definitely was probably the pain point for most people just because we're not used to him.
Oh, yeah, that level 1, man, it's so annoying. Honestly, like, I just now slowly started to kind of get used to that whole level 1 dance routine he has going on. It's just so unnecessary and so long, and it kind of looks like it's in slow motion to you in degree.
Yeah, it's very long. It's abnormally long by about 2 to 3 hits too long. I think when you think it should end, most people dash in, and that's when they get punished by the last 2 hits.
I mean, if they wanted to make it that many hits, they should have made those hits like a bit harder, like quicker or something.
They should speed it up by about 1.5 times the speed that it is right now.
But anyways,
Like
without
Luke Cage,
ripping on the Daredevil, because Daredevil...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Daredevil has had a lot of hard time as is, right?
Yeah. But that's the pain point. I think that chapter is probably the pain point for most people. But other than that, it's been relatively good. I do like Variant 5 better than Variant 6, but I don't think it's hard.
Yeah, I do think Variant 6 is slightly a bit trickier overall, but it's also a ton of fun, and I enjoyed thoroughly doing it, and yeah, I like it a lot. I did enjoy it properly, even though I kind of completed and explored it at a time when I'm like dead exhausted, like after work, and maybe I wasn't like at my physical best, but I can definitely recognize that it's a very good piece of content. Some of the cheeses there are well fun with the reverse heals and stuff like that, and I did like it a lot.
I love that part.
Yeah, but we do have to talk also about the probably most controversial point, which was the 2.2 lane. And
it was 2.2, very far right. Started with Mojo.
Yeah.
You had to place a weakness, or you had the opportunity to place a weakness, but it would last longer and allow you to do. It would last a longer weakness, I believe, and they had to do what's yours is mine originally, which was...
well, there's the Tyrant node that basically lets you do decent amount of energy damage on opponent block as long as they are suffering from weakness. Problem is, when you place a weakness, you typically do that by striking the opponent most of the time. So that didn't quite really add up. I didn't really, not just here, anywhere where that node was present, I pretty much never benefited or relied on it, just because its design is quite awful. Like, you never want to consistently be striking opponent's block unless under some very, very specific conditions. And if you do so, the benefit from it should be much, much, much higher than 50% of your attack value as energy damage, like Invade, for instance, with Corvus, right? Then you do significant amount of damage. But this just was not worth doing, as in like making sure that the opponent have the weakness on and then still having to find ways to strike their block. I mean, you can obviously do that. And sometimes I did like by accident when it just so happened that opponent was under weakness debuff and I was striking their block, but I was never quote-unquote going for it or trying to do it purposely, because it was more mess than good.
Yeah, it would just happen because that's how your playstyle allowed, not because you were actively trying to.
Yeah, but we had the what's yours is mine, and as we can see, it's gone now. Right, there's no nothing. It's just gone, just nuked, removed, and that obviously led with significant problems. So first of all, I did upload a video about this lane specifically, because when it comes to weakness debuffs, turns out that villains aren't all that capable. There are only 5 champions in the game that have been tagged as villains and also have access to weakness. those 5 champions being Joe Fixit, and let's face it, who wants to use Joe Fixit, right?
Exactly.
Then we have Green Goblin, and I have heard of some poor bastards getting through this lane using Green Goblin.
God bless them.
And then you have Void, who has weakness on level 2, but again, it's just level 2, and that What's Yours Is Mine node gives you like 5 or 6 second fury. And if that's only return that you get from launching a level 2, it's again not quite worth it at all, or not quite feasible. Then you have Apocalypse, who can inflict weakness on level 1. And again, it messes with Apocalypse playstyle, where you have to let that weakness expire and then go for it again to get that Fury, because otherwise the Fury buff won't reactivate, and even though you will have weakness active on opponent, you still won't deal the normal damage. And then you have the only realistic option, which is Immortal Abomination, where you easily place weakness on opponent every time you parry or take a blocked hit.
Exactly.
And that's like the only good quote option, and that was very silly. Obviously, there's another where if you have Resonate, then you can use any champion. Resonate is very, very expensive mastery.
Yeah, and I know some people invested in that prior to the fix, and they're kind of upset about that.
There are a lot of people upset, because there were people who invested 2,000 plus units in Resonate and did the lane. And there are some people who spent 1,000 plus units or 500 plus units to clear this lane at its original state, and then for it to be nuked hours later. And I can definitely understand the frustration there. For me personally, I wasn't all that bothered, as in, like, for example, when I rushed in 6.2 and the champion was bugged and it ate significant amount of resources because that indestructibility wouldn't go for whatever. And or when it turned out that 6.3 or 6.2 had overinflated health pools at some point. I think it was 6.2 as well, when they immediately reduced health pools in like 3 quests in 6.2. Well, like half.
Yeah.
And it's Kabam. Like, whenever Kabam releases new content, there is, let's face it, a very, very solid chance, 50-50 shot that something's gonna be wrong with it. And if we make a considered decision, despite knowing Kabam's history, to go in straight away and rush through it, and then something gets made easier, I think at this point it's partially like on us. It's kind of like hiring a Catholic priest as your babysitter, you know? There's plenty of history to signal that it's not a good idea to do so.
What I will say, they fixed it within the first 30 hours. I mean, it could be a little bit less than that. I think it was like 27 hours. Still, they fixed it within just over a day. Most people probably didn't do that lane as their first lane. Most people probably weren't at the 100%
I don't think there was
that point yet.
That large amount of people who pushed through it. Even I hadn't done it by the time it was fixed.
Yeah, neither had I, but I did. As soon as it got nerfed like that, I went and did it immediately just in case they changed their mind.
But I do have my grievance, because I did respec my masteries for this line specifically, like before I could get to it, and I did apply Resonate. Luckily, I obviously had it unlocked already, but so I still wasted like 100 units now.
Yeah, I had that mastery unlocked, and I was going to do the same thing. I was like, I'd rather not just rely, because I'm one of the fortunate people that do have Immortal Abomination and have him ranked up, but that's because I grinded. But other than that, I don't have anyone else except for Green Goblin, and I really don't want to. I didn't want to use Green Goblin, I guess I should say.
But okay, besides discussing like this lane directly and what Kabam did, you definitely need to approach it. First of all, do you think it was decent enough design to remain in the game? Because the excuse Kabam made was that it didn't interact correctly with a Tyrant node or something else.
I don't think it should have been in the game at all. No, I think it was bad design. It shouldn't have been in the game, especially when you're only allowing it to have a Fury for like that small amount of time with such the limited counters you had. It'd be different if, like, the weakness, like, once you place a weakness, you gain an indefinite Fury buff, which can stack up to, like, 5 times max, you know, or something during the fight. But to just have it where it's just for a few seconds and then you have to do it again,
yeah,
that was annoying.
In general, think what yours is mine is quite poor fight design, because I have
It's just
had to deal with
net,
it
yeah.
in Alliance Quest, and again, it's a node where nobody really counters it in the way it's meant to be countered. Everybody just puts on the resonate, and if you don't have resonate, you unlock the resonate. Typically, that's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a fun lane. That lane needs to be, honestly, it's one of those leftover hateful lanes from Act 6 that needs to just be nuked in general. I don't think we need it anymore at all. But for those that love the sadomasochistic place and they really want to have it, well, then let's make sure we give nodes in addition to that, then maybe make it less painful for people, because right now, the way it was, it should have never been done that way.
I think that kind of surprised me most is that clearly somebody, again, either made a very, very anti-player decision or made a very serious mistake here. Because they did such a phenomenal job in 7.1 in making horrible nodes fun. Like, even Aspect of War, it's one of the most all-time hated nodes where opponents eventually go unblockable, every time they throw special attack, they are unstoppable, and all that stuff. But they added that skill node where you basically just stun them through your block and combine that with skill vulnerability. And it was a crazy fun lane. There was absolutely zero complaints about it. And
that's what I think they should have done.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was their intention, and they didn't do it right.
Yeah, and I that's what I wanted to say, because in Act 7 they did that to a lot of different nodes. And in here, there just wasn't that positive element to offset the inconvenience of it, because that Tyrant node is crap and it doesn't really help you anyway. There wasn't any additional helpful mean to inflict those weaknesses. And I also think they didn't realize that there are, in fact, only 5 villain, out of whom 2 are meme level champions and 2 are brand new 2020 champions that could tackle it.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that lane was no easy breeze.
Oh
anyway.
yeah,
it had...
and that was like the most painful thing, I think, when you start that lane and see its mojo. And that interaction just makes no sense, because you're meant to gain fury buffs, and you have to gain fury buffs, right? In order to deal
you have to, and they're going
damage.
To expire.
But your entire mission against Mojo is effectively not to gain buffs that can expire, or you're gonna deject.
Yes.
So I think it was like a real shit show node, to be honest, especially that Mojo fight.
And besides that fight, I mean, you still had to deal with, I think there was a Human Torch at the end of the lane. I want to say there was maybe one other fight that wasn't exactly the best.
There's still Spider-Man, Nick Fury, Human Torch.
There you go.
Longshot, Juggernaut, Elsa. There are plenty of tricky fights.
There were just, a lot of tricky fights that you would never want to see What's Yours Is Mine on, especially with all that. So yeah, it was, I mean, could you imagine fighting those champions in Alliance Quest map 7? That would never happen because of that. And What's Yours Is Mine path.
But I do think it shows some sort of good that Kabam removed it.
That was what I was going to say. I think it's kind of showing that Kabam is changing to try and not make these nodes as a get good moment. It's more of they're learning from their mistakes. They're trying to be better about their nodes, and they're not trying to make these things. That's why I really think it was just a flat out mistake, not so much intentional.
I think overall, because with the content itself, you can see a shift in Kabam's mentality, and now in my opinion, they are starting to prioritizing fun over let's kill everything and everyone.
Right. Before it was like, let's just make hard content for players, which some players love that. Don't get me wrong, I understand, but I am not one of those players that has to have everything hard all the time. I like to be able to look at something and laugh my ass off by just holding a heavy attack with Magneto and their health just drops, you know?
Well, with me, I do like these sadistic fights, but there is a difference between hard and taking a piss, right? It's not a huge difference, but there is a very significant, like, what's the best way to describe it? Because there are plenty of hard fights in Act 6 that I did generally enjoy, because if I could see a clear thought process of what they want from me and what is my path to victory and execution of it and getting everything timed properly and stuff like that, that's enjoyable. But there is a ton of things that basically you deal no damage because you don't have a proper counter, or you die now because of whatever. Like, there are a lot of fights that don't feel fun, that feel very cheap, where you don't feel as if I messed up or I did anything wrong. Really, it just feels like it was complete BS and I died.
Yeah, it's like you play the fight perfectly, never get hit, intercept perfectly, but you die when you had full health. Those are the fights you're like, seriously? Come on, I did nothing wrong. I was playing the best I've played, but I'm gonna die because of the cheesiness of you putting you're stacking the cards way against me, you know?
That's exactly. Or I don't have like one specific champion, therefore I must suffer into like half an hour long fight.
Yeah, there's so much RNG in this game anyway. You should never have it where only one or two champions can clear any of the content, and if you don't have them, plus have them awaken, and if you need that, and it should not be like that. It shouldn't be the have and have.
And overall, they have done a fantastic job, man. Act 7 has been so open sources, and you can use a dozen different champions for vast majority of the lanes, and there's maybe 5 lanes where you have like clear-cut best options. Like where you kind of need something relatively specific, but even then it's not made overly specific. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you have a wide variety of people. You just have to find something with, certain aspects of it and whatnot. So, yeah, I think they're doing better. I think this is a sign showing that they learned that they messed up something and they fixed it relatively quickly. Yeah, some people are a little upset because they wasted, units and masteries and items and things like that. But at the end of the day, when you see something like that, maybe don't rush to 100% everything. Give it at least a couple days so you can see what's happening. They're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. We need to give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes that they're not trying to hurt us. But they've given us plenty of times when they have done that. I think they're moving off to a better area.
I think they're seeing therapists and how calm down on their violent tendencies as a company.
Yeah, maybe their New Year resolution is to be better to the player base, to keep them, paying or whatnot when they do. So
that's also
overall,
that also, in my opinion, warrants a very long separate discussion. We might make into KT time special, because if they ponder the player base too much, the game's gonna go down the shitter very quick as well.
Yes, I agree with that.
They need to be able to draw a strict line.
Yeah, definitely. So with Variant 6, kind of drawing it back up, because I know we talked about it for a bit, but just kind of wrapping this part up, everything seems to be pretty good. The only thing I'm a little disappointed in, there's no Tier 2 Alpha whatsoever.
Oh, yeah. The lack of Tier 2 Alpha is abysmal. I can show my in-game stash right now. Show an example, and I don't think I have like a typical, let's say, high-end game player situation. Where I have like 5 Tier 4 basics, I have 10 Tier 5 basics, and 3 Tier 5 basics in overflow. So I have 13 Tier 5 basics. I have nearly triple the amount of Tier 5 basics, and I have Tier 4 basics. And it's all the same time I have 1 Tier 2 Alpha. 1. Yeah. I need like 50 to use those 13 catalysts, or 40 at the least.
It's they've made it where the highest valued item in the game. They did this with Tier 1 Alpha a couple years ago. Remember, everyone was begging for Tier 1 Alpha because we could never get it, and now it's Tier 2 Alpha. I think my prediction is next year we'll have a lot of Tier 2 Alpha, not enough Tier 5 basic. It's
I don't know.
They have to artificially make that happen, but I mean,
but it's so annoying, man. It feels so depressing because I have like all of these different basics. I do have a ton of champions I want to rank up. Like I have that skill rank 4 to 5 gem, which I cannot even use right now because I don't have Tier 2 Alpha to take somebody to rank 4.
For rank 4,
in addition to that, I have like Sorcerer Supreme, and I have Mystic Tier 4 Catalyst in Overflow. And I cannot rank 2 Sorcerer Supreme. I really want to do that. I don't have Tier 2 Alphas to do that. Tier 4 class catalysts are also becoming quite scarce, by the way. But at the same time, I have plenty of champions I would like to rank.
Yeah.
But because of
That
tier
was
2
the
alpha
other-
situation, I pretty much have to say goodbye to all of my 5-star champions because they eat up more tier 2 alpha. Exclusively, pretty much can rank up only 6 stars.
What makes me a little upset is the only 3 to 4 gems we get from this variant is also for older champions, 2017 or below. So you don't even get the opportunity to take up like 1 to rank 4, so then you can use the tier 5 basic getting to rank up a 5-star. You know, it's just...
Yeah, I mean,
don't
get me wrong, rewards aren't bad. Overall, I think there's
Right.
decent value in exploding variant, for sure. All the rank up gems and 25% tier 5 CC, all that stuff adds up. It's just that it's definitely missing a ton of tier 2 alpha.
Yeah, we should have got 14 between the entire 100%. Spread out. 14, I think, would have been a good number. You could have probably
14
done...
maybe is too generous, but I don't know, 6 I would be dead happy with already. But
6
anyways,
would have been the bare minimum, yeah. But anyway, that's all I want to say about
I think we do, as we started talking about champions we cannot rank up, we need to talk about the featured 6-star crystal, don't you think?
Featured
there have been so many openings all over the place. As soon as this thing hit, I think this was pretty much the first featured 6-star hero crystal where majority of MCOC YouTube and large portion of top tier, top end MCOC player base actually saved for this one. And we could see these 10 plus crystal openings. Like I uploaded like 11 crystal opening as well.
You did 11. I saw a lot of people. I saw someone do, I think, 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So this was definitely the most sought after and juiciest featured 6-star we've ever seen thus far in the game. They have, I mean, if we look at it just based on the champions that you have on the screen there, Cable is not a horrible champion.
Cable is a beast now with Apocalypse.
Yeah, if he's with Apocalypse, he's a good champion. Falcon, he's got the buff, so he's a lot decent. Spider-Gwen, not a bad champion at all to get. Dormammu, I mean, could be worse. Ronan, again, Ronan.
It's a new 6-star though, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he was in 6-star before.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Green Goblin's probably a dud.
Mr.
Gambit
Stonk
got a buff.
It's like one of the 2 duds, I think, in here.
Yeah, and then Gambit just got a buff. Killmonger's not bad. Wasp is good. Then you got Man-Thing, okay. You got Cold City, which a lot of people still love. You got Punisher 299, just got a little tweak not that long ago, so it makes him much better. You got Professor X, brand new champion, good champion. You got Elsa Bloodstone, again, great champion. Mr. Fantastic, pretty good champion. Great synergies. Longshot, good champion. Red Goblin, synergies at least. Ghost, again, great champion. Apocalypse, great champion. Daredevil Netflix, got a buff. He's better than he was. Mortal Hulk, that is. Not the greatest, but whatever. Dragon Man, good. Cosmic Ghost Rider, very sought after, and Vision Age of Ultron, which is a new champion and the only Vision you can get free now. So overall, there's like 2 duds in the entire crystal.
Yeah, pretty much. That was the most exciting part for me because I knew that statistically, even if I don't pull like anything of what I really wanted, which is like almost what happened, I still didn't feel too bad because I duped like my Punisher 2099 and I kind of like him and I could potentially take him to rank 2 eventually. I got like Vision, which is new champion. I got Immortal Hulk. Okay, he's not the greatest, but he's the new featured one. I could probably take him to rank 2 for funsies, right? I got Netflix Daredevil, which is take it or leave it, but it's again a new champion, relatively decent. His ability set is actually quite okay. I think his biggest issue is damage. Then I got like Red Goblin, which is alright. And so even when I was like missing, I was still pulling decent. Overall, I think better average than I would pull in basics. Now, obviously, had I opened basics, I would have a lot more shots, so to speak. But still, even though I didn't pull Cosmic Ghost Rider, even though I didn't pull Apocalypse or Dragon Man, overall, some people were saying like in my rip and this is a bad opening. I didn't feel too bad about it because I got like a ton of new champions. Yeah, I got the new Vision and duped him. I got Hulk, I got Daredevil, and I got Professor X, which I ended up duping with the crystal afterwards and taking to rank 3. So, kind of to me seems like pretty much a win. I duped my Wasp, which I had at rank 2 already, which was cool time moment.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I won the Cosmic Ghost Rider, Dragon Man, and Apocalypse the most, and I didn't pull any of those 3.
But you still got time.
Yeah, exactly, but I still have like 90 days to go for it.
Yeah, yeah. So the way I look at it is, this is definitely for people that want any of these champions. I mean, me, myself, there's 14 champions in this crystal I don't have as a 6-star. And even the ones I do have, like I wouldn't mind duping my Long Shot. I wouldn't mind duping my Daredevil, or now they call him Hell's Kitchen Daredevil. And then Cosmic Ghost Rider I did get. I wouldn't mind duping him. No, the only ones I'd be really disappointed in was Green Goblin, which I did get, because I already had him duped, and I double duped him. Killmonger and Wasp I already have duped also, and as do Punisher. Those are the only ones I'd be like, oh, well.
Yeah, even I still have whatever. Like a decent amount of champions that I don't have or don't have duped. Like Ronan is new, I don't have.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Gwen, I wouldn't mind a dupe on her. Falcon dupe, I wouldn't mind at all either. Man-Thing dupe, I wouldn't mind at all. Else, I don't have. Mr. Fantastic, I wouldn't mind duping. Then we have Longshot, who I don't have and would like to dupe. At this point, Red Goblin dupe would be not too bad either. Daredevil duped is all right. Then you obviously have Apocalypse, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Dragon Man, who I still look for. So I'll definitely still keep opening these, because there is a decent enough chance that I can pull something I wouldn't mind taking up.
I just gotta say, if they made the crystals this juicy all the time, I think you'd see more people get it featured.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest benefit that this crystal provides to people is that relatively large sense of security, because there are really not that many bad pulls. Like, obviously, because I have like Dormammu and Cable at like 660 already, I don't want them. Like, because I have duped Call Obsidian already, I don't really want them.
Yeah, but for me, when I said there was 2 duds in here, one was Green Goblin, which maybe he'll get buffed and he'll be better. The other one, and I know I don't mean to say this to be mean or anything, but I think the other dud is Immortal Hulk, but that's just because they messed him up right off the bat, and they'll probably fix it next.
He's actually not that bad. The problem with him is that he's just not that versatile or great.
So, I mean, it could be argued there's only one dud in this crystal, in my opinion.
I mean, realistically, Immortal Hulk is still better than 50% of science characters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be upset getting it like you weren't. I mean, I would. It's a champion I don't have. It's a new champion. Like I said, they're probably going to tweak him a little bit more next year, because we're already seeing 2 2020 champions that were kind of duds this year get tweaked right off the bat in February. So, honestly, if you're somebody who wants to get, you know, you've been pulling 6-stars, you can't get anything really great that will help your roster, or you have a lot of 6-stars that have already been like in the basic pool, this is a great crystal to get for an extra 5,000.
Well, it is quite costly, though, I have to admit. 15k for a crystal is quite costly.
Yeah. But let's think about it for the people that have the sigil, though. It's only 3,000.
Well, that's one, but yeah, I suppose it kind of works.
But every 2 weeks. Yeah. 1 every 2 weeks is not bad.
Well, speaking of 2 weeks, or 1 every 2 weeks, we are bound to get a calendar soon, right? The holiday calendar. Which historically was quite decent and chunky, but last year, when I take a look at last year's calendar right now, it doesn't seem all that great, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. And so I'm trying to find confirmation on this. Now, some people today in the stream were saying that it's not going to be progression-based. I could have sworn they said it was going to be progression-based, based on your roster, but even if it isn't, they've got to make it better than last year.
That is the thing, though. Well, first of all, let's assess this. One, it has to be better than last year's.
Definitely.
If it's as bad as last... First of all, everything gets over time improved and buffed or whatever. Second of all, if it would come out as it did last year, it would just get laughed out of the room. 250 6-star shards and 3,000 5-star shards or whatever. It's like, come on, man.
That's horrible, yeah.
And second is that, yeah, that does make a difference. If they are offering the same calendar for everybody, they can't make it jack. Because they can't give content proven summoners like half a 6-star crystal or something like that. If they make it progression based or like your roster size based or something, then there is a decent chance to expect something better. Also, overall, historically, this 2-week calendar has been better than the 7-day calendar. But another interesting note is, if you can see the upload day of the video, it's 17th of December. And last year they went back to back. We're recording this on 20th of December. And we have yet to see this calendar.
Right, and the rumor is, or the confirmation really, it's not a rumor anymore, is the 21st we're going to get it. So it should be in within the under 3 hours for everybody listening to this live now. It's when the new calendar should start.
And that also kind of makes it interesting, because if it's 2-week calendar, it means it's going to go past the New Year. So you heard it here first, if you remember. Or maybe I'm absolutely wrong. I do think they're gonna put in something jazzy there for 31st. And it's gonna look quite significantly different. I hope it looks significantly different.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember last year the debacle that also happened. They had the regular monthly calendar going on, and on December 25th, which would have been Christmas Day for those that celebrate, they had like a mystery gift, and it ended up being I think it was just like 5 of those little basic gifting crystals. It wasn't even the greater gifting, it's just the regular gifting crystals, and people were really upset about that, like super upset.
Yeah, this year we don't have anything like that.
Yeah, this year I think they learned from their mistake in that aspect. Granted, they did say that that was their fault. They just didn't want to give away anything about the gifting, and maybe that's why they're also not showing anything with the calendar, because the gifting is going to start shortly after the calendar launches too. So
yeah, so as you can see here on screen now, 24th would be the 4 golden crystals, and 25th is Terax. So yeah, they're definitely not giving anything serious away there.
Terax is on the 25th, huh? Ain't I a stinker is what he's saying.
But
literally.
Yeah, so I because in my head I always had these like huge positive associations with that 2-week calendar, and it turns out that I had forgotten the last year's calendar, and now, especially looking at it with my 2020 eyes, it's crap.
It's like, oh yeah, I mean, it was.
It's like, barely... it's a stinker, isn't it? Like, yeah, what is that? 2 premium crystals, a 3-star crystal, a 4-star crystal. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, I will say the greater gifting crystal gave me a 4-star Thanos, so at least I got a trophy champion.
Oh yeah, those are valuable. Those are like 300 units and.
Yeah, so I mean, they basically gave us $30 worth on day 8, which I think was Christmas Day, because it started on the 17th, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
But regardless, I hope it's a lot better. I don't want to see any premium disappointment crystals.
Yeah, I definitely don't
want
to see 3 or 4 premium crystal shots. But again, if it's not progression based, we probably will.
Yeah,
it would be a shame if they took this and just kind of like doubled the values.
Why make it not progression based is what I'm trying to figure out. Because like the way, okay, here's what I'm going to say real briefly. With the whole debacle about how different when the arena celebration came out and they wanted us to grind for 10 plus hours on the arena for 5,000 6-star shards, one of the arguments made by Kabam Mike in the forums was, we still have the holiday 2-week calendar coming out. We just released the celebration one, leading it to believe that it's going to be better than the one we have right now, which at that time, the anniversary calendar. So it has to be progression based, I would say.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong.
Also, here another thing that we can see, the past year calendars. And one interesting thing that I pointed out last year was that they actually took away 1 greater gifting crystal. Previously we had 4.
Right.
They dropped it down to 3.
Yeah, because we had the 3 plus 1 extra one before that, I think.
So we'll see how many we get this year, because obviously the greater gifting crystals get better and better every single year.
They do, and I think, speaking of which, the greater gifting crystals... so we have the gifting event coming up, unless there's any more you want to say about the calendar.
No, we're good. We have to move on.
The greater gifting crystals is one of the big things they try to get people to spend on, but obviously the gifting event itself is going to be starting in the next less than 24 hours this time we're recording. That's going to be where they try and make the most money, they being Kabam, but also where some people try and get the most in their points and solo events and all that stuff.
Yeah, because the gifting crystals are quite juicy typically. Like they definitely let any whale skip a year or two of player progression.
Yes. So my question to you is, KT the Wise, what do you think could be some of the limited options, like 0.015% that we could get in these greater gifting crystals this year, besides the trophy champions?
I think Tier 5 CC is a must this year.
Okay.
I think Tier 5 CC is definitely there.
Gotcha.
Yeah?
I'm with you on that. 100%.
That leaves us, because there are very, very few things that endgame players care about, right? Tier 5 CC is one of them. 6-star signature stones is another. And last year they didn't have 6-star signature stones. I believe that this year they will have 6-star signature stones, unfortunately.
KT, can I ask you a question? Because I thought about this. Do you think for the first time ever, now keep in mind this is unprecedented, but do you think for the first time ever we'll see these greater gifting crystals have different things in them based on your progression?
No, I think that would cause too much rage.
So? Because I was going to say, it would be just another reason to push people to become Thronebreaker, because think about it.
I don't think we will. I generally don't.
Okay. I mean, I'm thinking like the devil on this one. Kabam, think about it. What if I told people they could get 6-star Sig stones or 5-star Sig stones, depending on if they're Cavalier or Thronebreaker, and there's somebody who's waiting to rank somebody up, and they're finding out that the crystals can be better if they just get to rank 3 one of their 6 stars. Make some more money. But I'm just saying.
I understand. I don't think they're gonna go there, because if they do, they're gonna open a very big can of worms.
I hope they don't. But yeah, I was just something I thought of, and I wanted to bring up to you.
I have heard this question asked before, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. However, I hope the best at this point from Kabam, and I hope they're not gonna do that.
Yeah, well, I would hope so too. I mean, I'm not saying I'm for that. I was curious if you thought they could do that this year.
I don't think so. So anyways, let's get back to the contents of the Greater Gifting Crystal. So let's go over the main shiny items. Tier 5 CC.
Yeah.
Yes, I do think we're gonna get fragments of those in there. Then 6-star signature stones. Unfortunately, also yes, I do think we're gonna get some of those in there.
We're gonna get some in there. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think there'll be a 6-star awakening?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. That's good
to know. I think there will be 6-star signature stones, but not awakening gems, because awakening gems are still very, very, very rare items. Think about how many of them they have given out total.
Oh yeah,
there hasn't been a single offer outside of the big one, like outside of the Cyber Weekend one, where they sell it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so far we can only earn it by a very, very few pieces of content. Exploring Act 6, it's class 1. Completing Exploring Abyss, that's 3.
Yep.
And then we had the Cyber Weekend.
Yes.
And July 4th, I think we could get one as well.
Yeah, I think it was the last offer.
The 6,000
like $700.
So don't think we're there yet. I think next year for sure. But I don't think they're gonna put them in here yet.
Okay. Do you think we'd see maybe a 6-star Nexus crystal in there?
Yeah, maybe. Easy. I don't know if that's the kind of thing they want to put in there, but I wouldn't care too much if they do.
And 6-star shards, you think those will be in there?
Of course, they have been there already. So.
And obviously all the other rank up materials and such.
I think the higher end items that are going to get added will be 6-star 6 stones and tier 5 CC. I don't think Awakening Gems are going to be there yet, but I could be wrong. They might add them.
Yeah, I hope not, just because I don't think we need another pay to win kind of scenario in that aspect.
No, there's always going to be plenty of those aspects though.
Yeah, I just hope there won't. I think we've gotten enough this year with all the different progression levels with Thronebreaker and all that. You know what I mean? I hope not.
Overall, I must say, like, this year, I have probably, after everything that happened last year, plus the thing that gifting event has become overall, I personally, on personal note, don't like it. I don't want to see it back ever. And I was not pleasantly surprised when it did make its return, because it's not really a gifting event, it's kind of like a trading event, and it kind of feels like a public auction, where you're just reminded of everything you cannot get. Because if you're not going for the top 1 spot as an alliance, or top 2 spots as an alliance, and first 30 to 60 spots as an individual spender, you get very, very, very little in comparison. Like solo went rank rewards. If solo first place gets Nexus 6-star Hero Crystals, tier 5 class Catalyst Selector, tier 5 class Catalyst Crystal, stuff like that, and where a regular mortal with let's say 9 to 5 job and mediocre spending will land, pretty much everybody lands in this top 1 to 5 bracket. If you're gonna spend 100-200 bucks on the event, you're gonna land in the top 1 to 5% bracket. And what you get 6% of tier 5 CC, which means absolutely nothing for most of the endgame players, because you get 10% a week minimum from AQ, and then the rank rewards and everything else. So for me personally, there's literally nothing of value of those rewards that I can realistically achieve, and all this event does for me is remind me of how different the game is. Even though I could be playing alongside a teammate of mine who's wealthier, let's say, and I'm gonna get scraps at the same time. So I don't know, I just don't like, I can get it why people like it and stuff like that, but it's not really a gifting event, because you're incentivized to spend as much money. So it's definitely largely a trading event, not gifting event.
Yeah, I agree with you on that 100%.
I don't know, in a sense you can say it just reminds me of how poor I am.
Yeah, same here. It's gonna be, you know, I'll trade, what do you call it? I'll trade very little, probably just what I get. You know, I know there's some solo event, typically like if you spend 300 units, you get 300. I mean,
yeah, you can get 275 units twice, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, those it's worth it to do, but after that,
yeah, I will try to get like all the milestones and alliance and solo events, but the way I'm gonna try and justify it in my head is because you can always trade like revives potions, boosts, and alliance quest potions and things like that. So typically every year I largely just try to stock up. I spend like $100 or $200 to fill up my account on all of the consumables I frequently run out with. For instance, buying alliance quest potions with glory is extremely cost inefficient. So I'll just fill up all of my potion stashes and stuff like that, and that will somehow justify it in my head, and I will get like all these rewards going technically for free. But again, like if you look at these milestone rewards, they really don't mean much. There's like 3-star hero crystal shards times twice basically milestones, don't care. 4-star hero crystal shards, don't care. 2000 5-star hero crystal shards, really don't care. And okay, like 2000 6-star hero crystal shards, I care about those, but like first 75% of that event is just irrelevant.
Yeah, it's like I don't care about them, so that's why it's good that kind of made it that way, because I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not. Honestly, I do hope this event just disappears, but it is one of the biggest Kebab's cash cows, so I don't think it will.
Well, well, let's see. After this year with the changes, let's see if it still is. It may
Oh yeah,
not
well,
be.
let's see, yeah, exactly, how well it does and how it ends, because last year was obviously extra spicy, should I say?
Yeah, because you're not going to have some of those alliances paying the money because they're mad they left after last year.
Yeah, but you're still going to have individual summoners looking for, if they can get a ton of greater gifting crystals, and it had tier 5 CCs and 6-star signature stones, and they'll still want those crystals.
Right, but at the end of the day, this is the way I look at it. At the end of the day, the alliances that were quote-unquote cheating last year were pushing the legit alliances to spend more money. I don't think you're going to see that this year, so they may not make as much as they made last year.
Okay, so here's another thing that, because obviously I know a lot of these people who went absolutely ham on these greater gifting crystals, and another reason that nobody has really ever mentioned for those accounts is because they can store the greater gifting crystals as quote-unquote their overflow of catalyst. What's the best way to explain? A friend of mine in August still had like 400 or 500 greater gifting crystals unopened, and the way he used them, he had like a couple of thousand of them bought in. That's a lot of money. That's like tens of thousands that he spent on the gifting event. But what he did is he popped them open by like 50 or 30 every time he needed some tier 4 class catalysts and tier 5 basics and stuff like that, and tier 2 alphas, because they don't expire.
Right, makes sense.
So I don't know, I still think there's going to be a lot of whaling happening for many people like that, because you don't have to open those immediately, and you can use them kind of like feed your catalyst needs later on if you're a whale, because you're just gonna get every new champion anyways, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. All right, well, anything else you want to mention about that before we go to the last topic we're going to talk about?
Yeah, about gifting event, again, I just wanted to say that obviously was my personal opinion. If you enjoy gifting event, that's perfectly fine. I can understand why people like it. It's just that I personally don't find it totally enjoyable. Don't take it kind of like that I'm trying to get rid of gifting event. No, it's not at all. It's there. It's not. Obviously, I have no control over it. I can just say that my personal experience with gifting events in general has pretty much always been negative. Whether it's my own personal issues of jealousy, or whether it's to watch all this drama unfold, and so on and so forth. So in general, I'm just not the biggest fan of gifting event. Even if I can put my own kind of like ego and jealousy aside, I just don't think it's a very healthy event, because it's effectively auction for the highest and rarest items in game, which in my opinion makes much of progression in game and hard work irrelevant, because you can typically acquire more resources in this gifting event if you can whale out several thousand on it than you can by completing and exploring all the content in the game, pretty much. And I just don't agree with it. It makes the game feel pointless.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and the last thing we want to briefly talk about is we have the new Alliance War season starting on Wednesday. You're going to be defending your #1 spot with your Alliance. So coming up on the, oh god, what season is it going to be now? What season
23
was the last
now?
one? 20... This is going to be 23? Okay.
I think it's going to be 23.
So we're coming up on...
Yeah, 22 has ended.
Okay, so we're coming up on 23. A lot of things really haven't changed the last couple seasons.
Well, yeah, I don't think they changed like anything at all, did they, for this season?
No, not last season. I know for sure.
Which kind of
so
sucks a bit.
I don't think they're going to change anything. They would have probably told us.
They would have probably told us by now. So season rewards are more than likely remaining the same. And don't get me wrong, they're not bad season rewards. I think if you're relatively high up, I think the season rewards for anything that's below Plat 3, Plat 4, and
they're not.
Anything below Plat 4 is quite bad, I think.
Yeah, gold, I would say it's not worth the time and effort, in my opinion. I mean, that some people probably still like to play, and they get gold. And
another thing in this that really pisses me off, that Masters and anything above doesn't get tier 2 alphas once again, man. It's like, why are you taking out those tier 2 alphas? It's like, why? Like, I have legitimately...
It's artificially.
We had a legitimate suggestion in our alliance this season. We knew we're not gonna make top 3 to try and flunk down to plat 1 just to get some extra tier 2 alphas.
Yeah, I think that's what you're seeing is what they're trying to do to all the whales, and it's affecting everybody too, is the fact that, and we mentioned earlier, tier 2 alpha has been scarce lately, is
it's so frustrating. It genuinely is.
Class.
You have the most quote-unquote valuable resource in game in spades, and you cannot use any of it because you don't have basically previous generation resource.
Yeah, and that's kind of unfortunate because that's exactly what they're doing. They're making it so you have to buy their crappy price deals sometimes, or use all your glory on it, or whatnot.
Glory alone isn't enough. I use all my glory on it, and it still isn't enough.
And it's still not enough. Yeah, I know it's not enough. Even with a boost for Thronebreakers and stuff, it hasn't been enough. But with that being said, what are some things you would like to see change? Maybe not this season, but if they were to change, what would you like to see change?
I know that they did this whole Alliance War rehash not too long ago, but generally, honestly, at this point, already still feels quite boring and stale. Last 2-3 seasons have pretty much all blended together. Alliance Wars is 90% using a combination of Quake, Warlock, Doom, Human Torch.
Right.
And yeah, I generally like the problem with Alliance War. The way, in the format it is right now, in the current framework, I don't see a way for them to make it good. I can see what they try to do with the modifiers, but modifiers just made it all worse. Because you consistently face same modifier.
Right, it's almost always the same modifier too.
Yeah,
but I mean, there are some variations.
Most 9 times out of 10 it's stubborn. And before 9 times out of 10 it was flow. And before 9 times out of 10 it was whoever else was like the best at the time. So whenever they do change these modifiers, there's always a clear favorite that everybody uses, and it just makes the wars even more boring. Overall, there is some shakeup needed for sure, I think. I don't think war is at its worst. I don't think war is as boring as it used to be. I don't think war is as bad as it was at slow wars, for instance, or some other times. But I do think it's getting there. And if they don't change something drastically after this season, it's going to be very bad. It's going to be again to the point where everybody consistently complains about war. Because in the recent iterations, war hasn't been that bad. Like, you haven't heard that many people complain about Alliance War.
Sure. They either love it, or well, I would say love it, they either deal with it, or they just ignore it altogether. Yeah. There's no happy middle.
But yeah, truth be told, I personally don't really see a way for Alliance War to become that ultra competitive, super important game mode that it once was. I honestly, at some point, I think they just need to scrap the concept altogether and come up with a different one.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, maybe it just needs a complete overhaul. Like, make season 25. That's a nice, what do you call it?
I'm very afraid to experiment, because I think it would be really cool if they did like Alliance tournaments and stuff like that, or had some sort of shorter iteration version of Alliance Wars or something. But obviously they have to be very careful because it does involve a large amount of people. But at the same time, I think they have more or less kind of pushed the idea of this 3 wars a week, 24-hour placement phase concept as much as I could, because here's the big problem with Alliance War, because it takes such a large amount of time. Every time you do mess up in it, or if your alliance loses, whatever, that sucky feeling sticks with you for days, weeks even, if you jeopardize your alliance position in season. And that is something that a game should aim to eliminate in its process. Because
Yeah.
Kind of like half of the point of the video game is the fact that you don't have to live with guilt and consequences for long. It's kind of like when you play Call of Duty, right? You get shot, but within a couple of minutes you're back out there and you're trying to shoot the opponent. That is what it separates it from real life, because you don't risk actually getting shot, right? And then when you're done, you're done.
Exactly.
But Alliance War feels a bit more real, too real, in a sense where when you mess up, the consequences of that stick around in the air in Alliance chats and your own self-esteem for too long, because you don't have a chance to redeem yourself, and it has such a long-lasting effect on a month-long season.
Yeah.
So I generally don't have a clear-cut picture of what they can do.
Yeah, neither do I. I was hoping maybe you thought of something, but I don't know. I think you may be right. They just need to go to the drawing board and maybe try it as a beta. You know, don't do Alliance Wars at all. Try whatever new thing they're trying as a beta to decide if they want to move it. But I say after season 25.
No, I do know for a fact that they said that they will rework this completely. That's why I am kind of still happy and quite excited, because they said that there's going to be complete Alliance War rehash in one of those dev diaries. So I'm just patiently waiting for that, because clearly they have come up with something.
Right.
Somebody who has been paid to come up with it and spent a lot more thought than I ever could.
Well, maybe they have the variant team and the one that did Act 7 actually.
I think Alliance War will have something more to do with dungeons. I think.
I could see a hybrid like that. Yeah.
I could see something like that there.
That would be very interesting.
But for now, I think, since I know that they are working on a complete rehash, I think they need to leave it more or less alone. Situation in AW isn't catastrophic. I do think it's starting to get stale and boring, but I also know that they're working on something, therefore I'm not that pushed to just wait a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of it. We gotta just wait.
But yeah, I think that also pretty much wraps up everything here for today. Right?
Definitely. Well, KT, I also want to mention this is the last time we'll have a podcast till Christmas is over. So for those that do celebrate Christmas, I want to just say I wish you all very well, a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays to all others. Stay safe with your family, and just have a good time. And remember that this is a game.
Delicious, but know your limits. Let's face it, it's COVID Christmas. It's going to be the most depressing Christmas ever. I will be here live as much, as often as possible. Cheer you guys up.
And I'll be here too.
But be careful. Be safe.
But yeah, just know we care about you. If you ever need to talk when we're in a live stream, you guys, we'll respond to you. So we're here.
But yeah, that is it, and let's say a huge thank you to everybody watching. Let's say a huge thank you to Mandalorian for helping us out, and hope everybody has jolly holidays, even though most of you will see it after the holidays. See you guys.
Right. Bye, guys.